Hey guys, I'm recording this on Sunday, August 20th, 2023, going with the video version. I've learned that even if my hair is uncontrollable, I can put a hat on and look some halfway sane, right? Great article in the New York Post. AI doesn't give the right answers. All right, what do we have here? OpenAI, I must read this with my magnifying glass here. Widely popular ChatGPT artificial intelligence service has showed a clear bias towards the Democratic Party and other liberal viewpoints, according to a recent study conducted by UK-based researchers. Wow. Academics, no less, from the University of East Anglia tested ChatGPT by asking the chatbot to answer questions, a series of political questions. All right, now, we've been talking about, so this is August 2023. We've been talking about this since at least March. In fact, this is half of the transcripts that I've collected in ChatGPT conversations. Here's the other half. Some of it's already bound. We want to put this into a book. It's not a matter of ChatGPT simply giving liberal answers to political questions. And we document, how long ago was March? Anybody can do the math here? 6 months, 5 months ago. First of all, they're not liberal answers. They're psycho woke answers. Okay, there is a difference. Those of us that have memories and have been around for more than a year know that there used to be some good liberal platforms, like labor unions and things like that. So there's a distinction between old school, classical liberal and the absolutely insane people that are running things now. So ChatGPT is not liberal. It is woke. And it's not just woke on political questions. It's woke on every damn subject. And I have it in the transcript. We've got some books in the pipeline. One of them is called What the Nurses Saw. And it's going to be about eyewitness testimony of nurses witnessing hospitals turning into killing fields by command from above. We have Nurse Aaron wrote a book about this. And this will only be the second book on the subject. Where are the great resistance journalists? Nowhere to be seen. The next book that's going to come out, I think, and I'm trying to figure out how to put these out in some kind of sane order, is the book on election fraud. Now, long-time Brass Check subscribers, you have to go way back to 1997. And yes, we do go back to 1997. And yes, we do have some subscribers from 1997. Know that one of the first topics we covered in 1997 was the reality of election fraud in the United States. It is a real thing. And I documented one point by point, day by day. If you've got our book on the NATO's attack on civilians in Belgrade in the late 90s, you know the format that we used, which is that every day I would read the propaganda of the day, I would demolish it and show how it was based on lies, then I would tell people what was actually happening. And I did that through the entire course of that war. Well, I did the same thing through the course of an election fraud, from the day the absolutely fraudulent results came in till they took away one of the conspirators in handcuffs for a different thing. He got caught bribing another public official. He literally gave the guy a suitcase with $400,000 in unmarked $100 bills. So that blew up that little scam. But anyway, there has never been in the whole history of America a book that details exactly how election frauds are carried out. Doesn't exist. And you can barely find a website. If you go to brasscheck.com and read the text, eventually you'll come to a link and it will tell you about our website about election fraud. You can click on it and read. And I said in 1997, if we don't get a handle on this, they're going to be able to put anybody in the White House. And 3 years later, we had George Bush, the criminal, in the White House. through election fraud, by the way. He got into the office the second time by election fraud, by the way. And unfortunately, the people that thought they were conservatives back then have set up the entire scenario that we're living through now, because they looked the other way when the election process of the United States was perverted. They didn't want to hear about hard evidence of election fraud. And now the chickens, man, I'm telling you this, the chickens always come home to roost, right? We didn't care about the CIA subverting the democracy of other countries over the last, well, since the day they were founded. Well, welcome to America, guys. Now they got their laser beams on us. So anyway, we just deal with it. We just deal with it. Anyway, just wanted to bring up this fact. I mean, I think Brass Check readers have known this since the beginning of time, but now the Daily News, excuse me, the New York Post, which is sort of a conservative paper, now finally in late August is getting a clue, a partial clue, and they're missing the real story, that this ChatGPT, this AI that's going to take over the world and improve things dramatically, is actually a scam. Oh yeah, what I wanted to say about this, and you're going to hear this first, and maybe you'll never hear it again from anybody, or maybe somebody will come out with it in a year and declare themselves a genius. But I'm going to explain what ChatGPT is. It is a real-time polling and propaganda system. What do I mean? The way they try to control us is through polling. We see this most often during elections, but it happens all the time. And they want to know what's on our minds. Once they know what's on our minds, they get together in their boardrooms with their whiteboards, and they try to figure out, they all sit around the table and they're drawing things out, and they try to figure out, okay, everybody believes this, how do we counter it? Like, for example, everyone believes that the president of the United States, John F. Kennedy, was not shot in the back of the head by someone 6 stories high, because his head went the direction of somebody shot from the side. Everybody believes that. What do? Well, they sat around and figured it out, and they came up with the term conspiracy theorist. And that's why there is the term conspiracy theorist, and it emanated out of the CIA, and it was created specifically to deal with the phenomenon of the vast majority of the population not believing the Kennedy assassination, the official Kennedy assassination story. So they see what the public believes, and then they go back to their boardrooms and their conference rooms and try to figure out, okay, how do we counteract this? How do we sell some bullshit to people? That's how the world works. And ChatGPT is the perfect polling system. Why? Because instead of going out and, with a clipboard and asking people questions, you just sit back and watch what people are asking. Do you know that there are thousands, and this is not conspiracy theory, guys, you can look it up. There are thousands of live operators behind ChatGPT. And what happens is, if you get into a subject that they have flagged as sensitive, the algorithm will alert a live editor who will read the sometimes in real time, but it's often post real time, will read the transcript of your questions. And what are they doing? They're learning the kind of questions that people are asking. They're learning how ChatGPT fails to give the party line. And then they go in and retrain. If you know anything about ChatGPT, and I wrote a whole book on it, go to Ken McCarthy, Amazon, you can read my book on artificial intelligence. You know that the AI program does not go out and read everything in the world and come up with the best possible answer. It's reading from a very limited body of knowledge, and it has live editors, trainers. The system is trained. So if you ask, hey, are the COVID shots safe? You will get the answer. Yes, the COVID shots are 100% perfectly safe, as proven by science, it's like, and I have in these transcripts, these things are even hard to lift up. In these transcripts, I show how ChatGPT devolved. Okay, so what would happen is I would ask some good questions, and I'd probe a little bit, and the system had not been trained yet to give back bullshit answers. And it would give me, actually, I got amazing stuff here, amazing admissions about COVID, about remdesivir, about Fauci, about the whole business, because they hadn't yet cleaned up their database of acceptable answers. And what they were doing, and what, not just to me, but to everybody that uses the system, they were watching. Uh-oh, we just put out an answer that's not correct. We must retrain the system. So thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, I don't think there are millions of intelligent people, have been asking ChatGPT questions. And they have been monitored. You know, it's very easy. You just write in, if the word COVID comes up, flag it, capture the transcript, send it to an editor. Very simple. And I'm telling you guys, they have thousands of content experts behind the supposedly artificial intelligence program. I mean, everything's a fraud within a fraud within a fraud. You know, we have remember self-driving cars, right? Everyone said they're going to be here by 2020 at the latest. Well, it's 2023. We ain't never going to get a self-driving car. But everyone said it was coming, it was coming, it was coming. And now we have electric vehicles that catch fire routinely. And when they catch fire, they burn 3 times hotter than which is unbelievable, because if you know anything about a gasoline fire, those things are hellacious. Well, the electric ones burn even worse. Not reported, but I used to be long ago involved in the shipping industry, the literal ships industry. So I sometimes read the trade papers. There was a fire on a transport on a container ship that had thousands and thousands of automobiles on it, many of them electric vehicles, and it caught fire. And thousands of brand new, I think it was BMW electric cars are now I don't know if they've solved the problem yet, but are sitting on a ship that is slowly sitting at sea on a ship that is slowly disintegrating, and they don't know how to get the cars off because the fire was so hot, it weakened the floor, right? And then there's cars here, and I think there's a third layer. But in any event, they can't even go in and get the good cars out because they don't know if that floor above is going to collapse. All right. Did you read about that in the mainstream news media? No. Is it kind of an important story that apparently we cannot ship electric cars safely on container ships? They're not container ships. They're ships specifically designed for cars. They just drive them in and they park them really close together, or they used to. Now they're like, if we park these things together and one goes, we're going to lose them all. So that's the electric car scam. And we have our AI ChatGPT scam. So remember, you heard it here first. There are thousands. Kind of frustrating, right? I mean, I had a long talk with a good friend the other day, and I got to vent my frustrations. It's like, you will not hear this stuff anywhere else, including the Great Resistance podcasts. I don't know why. Are they dumb? We're trying to figure it out. Are they stupid? Are they so egocentric that if you're not part of their little posse, you're not welcome on their shows? Or are they controlled opposition? We don't know. I can't figure it out. But it's kind of important to understand that behind ChatGPT, there are thousands of editors and content experts and trainers who are monitoring your questions to ChatGPT, making sure the questions are politically correct, and retraining the system in that rare instance that it actually gives an accurate answer. That's kind of a big story. And based on this, I'm going to guess that they're only about 6 months to 2 years to maybe never figuring out how ChatGPT really works. Funny little story. Back in the 18th century, in the 1700s, there was an equal fascination with the idea of mechanical devices that could do things. And so somebody created this thing called the Turk. And it was a had he had a big Turkish turban on, and he could play chess. And it was amazing. What they didn't know was there was a big box that the chessboard was on. And in that box was a little guy. And he had the chess pieces were magnetized, and he could see the board the way they designed it, somehow he could see. So he was just sitting back there watching what was going on. And then when it was time for the Turk to make a move, he would put the magnet up there and move the chess piece, and the Turk's hand would move the chess, the chess piece, right? So it looked like there was actually a robot. I mean, this must have been. Can you imagine in the 1800s, or the 1700s? Yeah, 18th century, 1700s. Can you imagine in the 1700s how amazing that must have seemed? And of course, it was a total fraud. I think a lot of the verbal AI stuff. I mean, the graphic stuff speaks for itself. The programming stuff speaks for itself. Some of it really works very well. But you ask a question and it gives an answer, that's pure bullshit. And it is control. And behind that are thousands of editors and content experts and censors, right? Monitoring. So that's why I call it a real-time polling and propaganda system. Like in the old days, you grab your clipboard, you go out, you ask some questions, you bring it, they get collated, you bring it back to the guys, and then the guys sit around and go, oh my God, everybody thinks we killed Kennedy. What do we do? Oh, we'll call them conspiracy theorists. Good, problem solved. But that took months, right? Now it's real time. Hey, everybody's asking about remdesivir. They're all saying it's poison. And they're right. What do we do? They ask them about remdesivir. Ask ChatGPT about remdesivir, and they'll let you know. But anyway, I want to repeat this, guys. I have transcripts of hundreds, no, not quite hundreds, but in excess of 100 hours of, back and forth with ChatGPT, where I would ask questions. And sometimes it would accidentally tell me the truth. And then I would go back a week or a month later, ask the same question, and I would get this super polished bullshit. So this is one of our books. If you're supporting us, you're now not only supporting our server and our email and our tech assistant, and I now have an editorial assistant. These things all cost money, guys. And now you're also supporting our book. So you supported those of you that supported us supported the publication of this book, which is still selling pretty well. And I've been even interviewed 3 times. How do you like that? You also supported the publication of this book. This is the only form of the Nuremberg Code in print that you can easily go out and buy. So you supported that. Soon you will be seeing What the Nurses Saw, one of only 2 accounts of the mass medical murder that took place under the cover of COVID. And then up comes the election fraud book. And then I'm trying to think, do I write the ChatGPT book, or do I write a book called, that's going to be a follow-up to this one, called The Nuremberg Code and Its Modern Enemies? That's going to be heavy lifting. I'm going to document sector by sector all the institutions in the United States and the world that are acting like enemies of the Nuremberg Code. They don't come out and say it. They don't come out and say we are enemies of the Nuremberg Code. That would be a little hard position to take. But they are able to subvert the Nuremberg Code and diminish it. And they are doing it actively. And I know their names. I even know their addresses because, they're professors at various universities, and they're government officials. So those are how many books did I say? Those are Nurses, Election Fraud, a larger Nuremberg Code book, and then the ChatGPT book. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of money because I can't do it all myself. I need an editor, I need a proofreader, I need someone to lay the thing out. I need a cover, these things cost money. Be nice if I'm not paying for everything myself. To people that are supporting Brass Check, thank you very much. Your work is the money you send is very, very, very well spent. By the way, I want to give a plug to 2 groups too, for those of you that are wanting to fight back against the utter madness that we're living through right now. And just for perspective, guys, we are now living in a society where in certain states there are laws that, I can't even hardly believe this. that keep parents from being told that their children, their young children, not their adult children, their under 18 children, are being put on the track for chemical and surgical sexual mutilation. There are laws that are on the books in states in this country to prohibit and to allow the schools not only to keep that information from the parents, but to keep it from the student's own record. You know, when you go to school, they keep a record on you. I never was very comfortable with that, even as a kid, right? So they keep a record on you, your grades, if you have any behavioral problems, if they're aware of any serious home problems, you know, and I guess this makes a certain amount of sense. Well, now they're keeping 2 sets of books at some schools, in some school systems, in some states in this country, the normal file, and then the sexual identity file. Yeah, that is not part of the public file on certain children in certain places, and it's kept from the parents. So we are in a society now. This is how crazy it is. So people that were worried about some dystopian future, you don't have to worry anymore. We're in it. We've shot way past it. And so we now have schools that will put children on a course for chemical and surgical sexual mutilation and keep the entire process secret from the parents. And the law not only permits it, the law requires it. Okay. So who's fighting back against this? Maybe we should support them. Maybe we don't send money anymore to, I hope there's nobody giving money to NPR on this thing anymore, guys. Don't send money to the Red Cross. Don't send money to NPR. There's so many organizations I can tell you not to send money to, but those are 2 that are very good vacuum cleaners of money. They don't deserve a penny. Okay. 2 groups that I would absolutely support wholeheartedly. American Frontline Nurses. We did a whole week on them just last week, I believe. AmericanFrontlineNurses.org. Over 25,000 nurses providing real nursing care, independent of the psychotic medical system, which we're now under. If you don't think it's psychotic, tell me why they denied anti-inflammatories and steroids to people with inflammation problems and respiratory illness, when the entire history of modern medicine, that's what you do. Okay. So anyway, that's a whole nother side issue, but they murdered people in hospitals, basically. If you have a family member that died of COVID in an American hospital and in the UK hospital and others, and you care, and you have some balls, you might look into how they actually died. You may find out they did not die of COVID. They died of authoritarian medical malpractice. You know, when you deny somebody a known treatment, we're not even talking about ivermectin. So that was another horror. But we're just talking about denying people ibuprofen, denying people steroids. I mean, if you're a doctor and I come to you and I'm bleeding to death and you don't put a tourniquet on me and just sit back there and smoke a cigarette and watch me die, have you not committed malpractice? I would say you've committed murder. Now, the way they've covered themselves, I guess we're going off on a whole other topic, but it's important because nobody else is talking about this. The way they cover themselves is, well, the CDC said, you know, and so what the nurses did and what AmericanFrontlineNurses.org did, and why you should support them, is they stood up and said, and a leader was Nicole Sorotek, first person to stand up really in a real way against the COVID bullshit. I mean, I wrote about it. She got on a video and called them out as murderers from the hospital where she was working, losing her job, of course. Oh, and subjecting herself to death threats. If you haven't seen the series that we did, it wasn't enough that people disagreed with her position. They found it. And who funded the death threats? I mean, this is mind-boggling. Like, you used to hear these seemingly wacky conspiracy theories about the UN. The UN supported a group called Halo or whatever, Halo Group. And the Halo Group is a group, basically an online mob that went out and smeared and threatened. And in Nicole's case, issued death threats, gave her home address. People showed up at her home with her children while her husband was at work, strangers. So anybody that was worried about some dystopian future, good news, you don't have to worry. We're in it. We're in it up to here, right? So AmericanFrontlineNurses.org. I mean, we can use the money here, obviously, and that's why we ask for it. But if you have a priority list, I have to say, give money to them first. The other group, absolutely, positively. Oh my goodness, where's my, oh, here it is. Okay. The other group, absolutely, positively, these people are on it. Moms for Liberty. And Moms for Liberty. And they're on it because the Southern Poverty Law and Scam Center declared them a hate group. Why are they a hate group? Because they have the same objection that I do to schools counseling children, that the way they solve their childhood emotional problems is getting themselves chemically and surgically, sexually destroyed. I think it's a bad idea. They think it's a bad idea too. I'm sure if I had any kind of prominence, I would be called a hate spewer, right? Well, they have been. They have been targeted as a hate organization because of their position on this particular issue. In other words, they're right on target. So their group, oh goodness. Okay, I'm going to find it here. Okay. There's one particular chapter. Luckily, there's many, many chapters of this group in over 40 states. They're very well organized. They're really supportive. I don't see a whole lot of egomania going on. In fact, I don't see any. They're focused on the mission. In fact, the lady that we interviewed, Robin Steenman, former B-1 Air Force pilot. Okay, that's a supersonic bomber. Like, you don't have flakes flying those things, right? So she's a mom of 3, and she's running the chapter in Williamson County. They're doing amazing publication work. Amazing. Like, better than amazing. Like, they're doing the right thing the right way. Their URL is Moms for Liberty WC.org. And that's another group to support. And again, in the hierarchy of who to support, you got to nurses or parents, it's kind of on the same level. So you just go with the one you think, and then go to the next one of those. So if you go with the nurses first, then go with the parents first, or flip it around, whatever. And then if you still have any money left, we've got all these publishing projects, and we're the ones telling you about these good groups, and we could use some support too. But I have to say that these are the groups. These are the groups that are holding the line. Remember when we did all that reporting from Canada about, and the line, the thing that everybody said up there was hold the line, hold the line, hold the line. Of course, they had the horses trample the old ladies up there when they held the line, but that's a whole nother story. But these women, and they're women, and I'm sure they're supported by their husbands, obviously. But they're on their point. They're going point. They're walking point on this thing, and they're taking a lot of flack, and they don't care. They kind of. I think Nicole doesn't like strange men showing up at her home when she's there alone with her children. That's not very pleasant. But they don't care. They are going forward. They are not giving up. They are not going to back down. And I think if we're not supporting them, there's something profoundly wrong with us, and we deserve whatever we get, And I've been saying this since the 90s. You're not going to fight this election fraud. Maybe the guy that you don't want to win actually won, but you're not going to point out that it was a fraud. Well, those chickens will come home to roost, and they have come home to roost. And we really got to break up this liberal, conservative, right, left bullshit. And we have to see people that have decent human values, whoever they are and wherever they come from, and join together against this. They got us to this point by all these wedge operations, And we got to de-wedge ourselves and find out who the people with human values are and support them. And I can tell you, and if it changes, I'll let you know too. But I can tell you that AmericanFrontlineNurses.org is worthy of every ounce of your support. Moms for Liberty in general is a great organization, but the chapter that's really kicking ass is Moms for Liberty WC.org. Support them, please, please. If nothing else, go to their website, join their mailing list, do every little bit, tell other people. Not everybody has extra money. I get that. All right, but you can do other things like become a subscriber, right? Participate in their programs, and share. If you only tell one person, that's huge. That's really huge because you've now doubled the number of people that know. It's 100% improvement from your database. But anyway, I've kind of raved and ranted on a whole bunch of different subjects, but taking this full circle, in case anybody didn't get the clue, ChatGPT, the verbal, where you ask questions and get answers part of the artificial intelligence industry, is actually a real-time polling and propaganda system. Okay, you can, if you ask it certain, if you ask it about chemistry, if you ask it about, in non-woke subjects, well, soon they will do woke, right? They'll go, well, chemistry is a racist, anti-gay profession, and it needs to be reformed according to the principles of Chairman Mao. I don't know, this is maybe what we see next when you ask questions about mathematics to ChatGPT. But right now, if you ask technical questions, you'll get, well, if you don't already know the subject and you ask ChatGPT a question, you better double check their answer, because they even get technical things wrong and they don't seem to care. Like if you read the original stuff about ChatGPT before it became popular, their overriding goal was to be 80% accurate. All right. Now imagine a dictionary that's 80% accurate. Imagine an encyclopedia that's 80% accurate. Imagine a user manual for an aircraft that's only 80% accurate. All right. But they're so full of themselves that they think that's a great thing. And then, of course, the news media, staffed by absolute idiots that can't do even a second's worth of research and that don't even know the most basic thing about it. But in any event, you're getting psycho woke answers anytime you ask about anything political, social, medical. Can't count on their medical advice. Now, if you ask them anatomy questions, I found, basic anatomy and physiology, they don't seem to screw that up. They seem to not dispute that there's a liver and there's a kidney in the body, and they seem to know where they are, and they seem to know what they do. They don't, that has not been, I'm sure that will be determined to be a racist, homophobe science, that the liver's not really there, it's really over here, and only a racist would say that. That's where we're heading, but maybe we can head it off. Anyway, these groups, I love them. Moms for Liberty, especially Moms for Liberty, WC.org, that chapter, and AmericanFrontlineNurses.org. If you want hope, these women, largely women, supported by their husbands and partners, but they're the front line for this. They should give you hope. And the best way to have hope is to support the people who are fighting. That'll make you feel a whole lot better. So this has been Brass Check on a Sunday morning. I hope everything's good with you. Things are good here. We got good weather. I'm going out soon. I'm a happy guy.
Brass Check TV, free to you, not free to us. We've got a server bill, we've got an email software bill, we've got a tech helper bill, and that happens every month. So to everybody that is supporting us financially, that's paying for their subscription in one way or another, we really appreciate it. If you're not, consider doing so. Everybody's got money for the newspaper and the cable bill and all that. Do you have money for media that's actually serving you? That's really the issue here. And when you help us, it allows us to get this information out to the world. So thanks to all our supporters, and if you're not a supporter already, please consider becoming one.